Welcome to the Power of Lifting podcast. I'm EricCafferty, owner of the Mecca Gym. I am a strength and conditioning coach and a contest prep specialist. The focus of this podcast is to dive into the mindset and the drive of people who have done incredible things with their lives.
Shall we welcome everybody to the podcast? Welcome all to the Power of Lifting podcast. And I know I say all of our guests are special, but this one, I mean, they just keep getting specialer.
Specialer.
Is that a word?
Yeah, it is now.
Okay, it is now. Oh, man. So Miss Maggie McCormick, some could call her the official competition gym mom of the Mecca. I mean, unofficially.
Unofficial. I don't know. You can make it official now. You own the place.
I mean, I guess so.
I feel like kind of Mecca morning manager is a little more appropriate.
Mecca morning HR.
Right.
Really is.
More importantly.
Right.
I mean, for all of my important HR comments, we all know how, PC and HR friendly I am.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why you don't have an HR department.
Exactly.
Right.
Maggie would have fired me a long time ago.
Yeah.
You're out, pal.
So, Maggie, we know you as the amazing, 6 a.m., most dedicated of the gym and, famous Mecca athlete. But tell us about yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and what led you here.
Yeah, so my name's Maggie McCormick. I've been a member of the Mecca for 4.5 years. I'm a mom. I work in talent acquisition. I oversee hiring for the largest French fry maker in North America.
There we go.
Hey,
That's
nice.
right. Yep, because everybody loves French fries.
Absolutely.
That's right. So my team does about 2,000 hires per year. I have about 18 recruiters on my team, and so I keep super busy at work.
Oh, wow.
But when I'm not at work, I'm here at the gym usually. So
Which is spectacular.
yeah, I'm part of the early morning crew. We start rolling in here between 4 and 5 a.m. and because some of us have day jobs and need to be out of here at a decent hour.
Getting it done.
Luckily,
still.
Hunter and I don't have day jobs, so we get to work out in the middle of the day.
Right.
Middle of the day.
Yes.
Right.
Man, 4.5 years, huh?
I know we've been together a long time.
We have been together for quite some time now.
Did you come to the Mecca at the same time you started training with him, or was it one before the other?
I did. So I came to the Mecca in 2017. A friend of mine was training with Eric and was just doing incredible. And she was like, "Hey, you should come meet with my trainer." And so I met with Eric and was terrified of the beard at first, but once I got over that,
It's like a teddy
it can
bear.
be very intimidating. But yeah, and the rest is history. I think you and I have been together, like we've never taken a break, right?
No.
I mean, it's been 4.5 years straight. So
It's been going
There's no Ross and
going
Rachel
strong.
going on over here.
right, we were not on a break.
Is this one reference I totally don't get?
The Friends.
Oh, is that a Friends
That's a
reference?
Friends when
So I don't know if you've been into
Okay,
that.
showing his age.
No. I never got on the Friends wagon. Yeah, 2017. I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah, I think that I want to hear a little bit about what kind of led you to come in to the Mecca in the first place.
Yeah, sure.
Aside from the poking and prodding of your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had been a dancer all my life. Started dancing when I was 5, danced through high school. And
A dancer, we know what that means.
Right, just to pay the tuition.
This is the department coming in right now.
Yeah.
And then, into my 20s when I stopped doing that and started having a family, right? I mean, life was just normal, just plugging along. And, I went to the gym, but it wasn't anything serious. And I mean, candidly, looking back, I had no clue what I was doing.
Fair enough.
Yep. And then when I turned 30, I went through a divorce that was really tough and really shifted into survival mode. I have 2 incredible kids, and I wanted to make sure that I was providing them with a great life and putting them kind of at the front of the line. And so, I did. I just went into fight mode of building my career and getting myself back on my feet. And through that, I just did not put myself into that equation. Over that time, just continued to gain weight. And so I really, at the end of the day, knew that wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted to live.
Right.
And so, but didn't really know how to connect those dots. And that's when I,
Gotcha.
ran into a friend that was having some success.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I distinctly remember when you started working on a lot of different things, nutritionally speaking, getting you going with, obviously going through all of the lifting stuff that we typically take people through. What was the biggest obstacle that you encountered kind of when you started really, getting deeper into the process? Like, okay, I'm going to hire somebody, hire a trainer, get my nutrition and my exercise dialed in. Like, what were some of the obstacles that you ran into right out of the gates?
I think for a lot of people, daily life. I mean, we all come up with things that are, seem bigger and more important in those situations. And so, you really have to work to find a balance of something that's going to set you up for success. So for me, it was working out in the mornings, right? So that it didn't take time away from my family or my work commitments. So that was a big thing for me, was just kind of figuring that out. And then I think the other thing was figuring out mentally that, it was okay to mess up, but to just get back to it, right?
Yeah.
To not let a slip up derail your whole progress, which is what I had done in the past.
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice to people.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people they get in this cycle of like continuous derailment, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like
And
it's
just
comfortable to go
don't
back to
get-
derailing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting.
Keep showing up, right? Is that what they say?
Just keep showing up.
Keep showing up, right? Yeah, and I agree with that. I think getting into that early morning routine was super key. So how would you say that you're involved in fitness now? What's your involvement level?
I'm all in.
She's all in.
That's right.
I'm in the deep end right now.
For the listeners.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll rephrase that. How do you view fitness now compared to like in years past, before you started, like even before you started thinking about competing?
Oh my gosh. I mean, for me, so, I had tried a lot of things that didn't work, and I was lucky enough to find something that does work for me. And I think that, now it's so ingrained in who I am, right? It is such a part of me that actually, the part of me that gets up and goes to the gym knows I do it because I'm going to feel better afterwards, versus the person that's laying in bed that wants to stay there because that feels good, right? I know that short-term laying in bed is going to feel crappy at the end of the day. And so, it's that, and then fitness has just become so ingrained. You think it's just in the gym, but then you have the other aspects of your life, which is like, I've been more successful in work. I've been more successful in my personal life. And all of that is a result of my life in fitness. So just continuing to keep that commitment day in and day out, knowing that, who knows in 5 years from today where we're going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So to kind of go along with the direction that we're going, I kind of want to hear from you, like your progress in the journey. And one of the big reasons why, aside from the fact that I love you dearly, I wanted you on this podcast was because, not only are you well-spoken and, just a heck of a personality, but I think that a lot of people should be able to relate to the journey that you've excuse me, the journey that you've been on.
Yeah.
Just because, you were, you're a mom, you've got a, full-time job, you've got a lot of commitments, and, you went from a place where a lot of people have felt, which is kind of stuck, in not having your health where you want it to be to where you are now. So I kind of want to hear from you, kind of what that journey has looked like, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, sure. So I think not a lot of people know this about me, but when I started at Mecca, I was about 80 pounds heavier. I was pushing that 200 mark, and at a point in my life where I knew I wanted better for myself, I knew I wanted better for my kids, and willing to do whatever I needed to do that. So when Eric and I started training together, really, I think the first 6 to 9 months, I wouldn't put them as successful necessarily. I think I was trying to get my bearings about me, right? I had kind of gone back and forth and failed at some things and been successful at other things. But then I remember I went on a trip to Turks and Caicos in March of 2018.
Oh, yeah.
Nice and good times.
An absolute must. And I came back and I saw a picture of myself like a lot of people do, right? And I was like, who's that girl? Like that's not me. Oh, no. And so that year I was turning 40. And so I made a goal that I wanted to lose 40 pounds by my 40th birthday. So that was 2018. And so I remember sitting down with Eric and, saying, hey, this is what I want to do. And he's like, look, I want you to just give me 30 minutes of movement every day, right? Close your Apple Watch rings.
Amen.
For a week straight, Maggie, right? Come back in a week and we're going to go to there, right? And so I did it for a week. I closed those rings, and then I came back, and he was like, all right, do you think you can do 2 weeks in a row? And I'm like, yeah, I can totally do 2 weeks in a row, right? And from there, then it was like, all right, can I do a month? Can I do 90 days, right? And so I spent 2018 living on an elliptical machine, and I am the queen of cardio. Spent a lot of hours there, but I also did a tremendous amount of lifting, and we had a great summer, right?
You did have a great summer.
I was able to lose.
Successful.
Yeah, I lost 53 pounds by my birthday.
Oh, geez, that's amazing.
Yeah, which was super cool, and so.
That was great.
Yep. And then from there, then you go into this really weird space where you start to kind of reverse. And that's every bit as challenging as losing weight, right?
Potentially worse, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm way better at the lost part than I am at the reverse part.
Yeah, I think you were definitely, and it's not just you, everybody does better with a good concrete goal.
Yeah.
It's not really good to start into something like this and be like, well, I'm going to arbitrarily, lose weight and build muscle, because that doesn't really keep you showing up or committed too well, right?
Yeah.
So I think the Apple Watch, that little girlfriend of yours that's...
Best boo.
Oh, man. What is it, a Series 1?
Yeah. You always give me a hard time about it.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why those things work so dang well. And, just setting like a small goal at first, it's not like... you went from, hey, I want to lose, X amount of weight just to feel good to, I want to actually get on stage like overnight. Right. Like that, that goal did not just happen like, immediately. Now in the back of your head, was that a thought in the back of your mind? Yeah, I think you watched, Jess on the stair mill a few times and was like, man, to do that. Right. Even though I don't know why anybody would want to spend that much time on a stair mill, but
not me.
Yeah, not me. That's for the ladies. But yeah, it's very. We kind of took it in phases, and I've told you this a number of times. But even had you never even wanted to get on stage, like it doesn't make a difference to me one way or another. If somebody, I think that's. Great though. If things do end up coming full circle and you're like, yeah, I want to see how far I can really push my body, because, compared to when we were, losing weight for health compared to competition prep, like it's really not that much different, right? But it's just that next level of push, right?
For sure.
This is a lot more that goes into it. So what were some of the differences that you noticed between just losing weight for general health versus, okay, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring to a show?
Yeah. So, just losing for health, sure, I had kind of a day and a timeline around that, but let's be real, there was flexibility to that timeline, right? If it didn't happen by my birthday, like, maybe it's 30 days later, that wasn't quite a big deal. Where when you're in prep, you're pushing against a clock, a really solid clock.
Yes.
And the other thing is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, please, but we didn't have to go quite as extreme on calorie cutting when we were doing it for health, because we didn't have that timeline there, right? Where we kind of amped it up to hit the goals that we wanted to hit for stage.
Yeah, and there's diminishing returns, so to speak, right? It's not like you can just eat 1,500 calories till the end of time and keep getting leaner, right? So your body's going to have some, mechanisms in which it prevents you from, really going to that next echelon of, conditioning that you're going to want to be at for competition. Whereas, for general health, you got as lean as you would ever need to be for health reasons on, generally speaking, quite a bit more food than what it takes to get competition ready lean, right?
For sure.
However, I will add in that I think going that extra mile and getting contest ready actually does help people maintain a healthy body weight in the long run if it's done correctly and the person is like in a somewhat mentally stable place, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because it's all about perspective, and it changes your perspective. So what were some of the changes that you felt like you experienced going along both parts of your journey?
I think that you start to see like, I can accomplish this, right? You start to believe in yourself. You start to gain that confidence back, because I think that if you've put on a significant amount of weight, you carry, at least I did, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but there's almost like a level of shame at some point that you're like, how did I get here, right? And so you start gaining back that confidence, and you start gaining back that ability to set goals and meet them, right? And so for me, when it came to stepping on stage and making that decision, I had really just, I looked at you and said, I want to see what my best is. I want to see what I'm truly capable of. And man, did it pull it out of me, right? Like, I laid it all on the table. I gave it what I had, and just as difficult as it was incredible, right? Like, everyone should be able to have that feeling of accomplishment. And, now I feel like, well, if I did that, what's the next thing I can do, right? What's the next big thing that I can go after? And so you start really chasing down those passions that you have in your life, being professional or personal.
Right.
It's a momentum game almost, I think.
Totally.
Well, and even just the way that you were describing your journey, how you started, your thought process was, I don't want to be this way anymore. Like, I don't want to be sick. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, is like the phrase or whatever. And then you said, okay, I strapped together a week, and then 2 weeks, and then a month, and then 90 days. And now it got to the point where it's like, I'm going to go on stage and see where I can push myself from there. I don't think there's anything accidental about how that works out in the universe, that once you start accomplishing things, that just continues to roll and get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, you're just accomplishing, more, another goal,
and the confidence grows that you're like, I can do this next goal. Even though that goal, like, you look back 2 years, I would have never ever thought that this would be the goal, but now you're 2 years ahead. It's like, I'm going to do this goal now.
Right.
Yeah, confidence is huge. We talk about that all the time on here.
Yeah. I think that I just wish that more people could, like, palpate that feeling. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people out there that maybe they don't want to compete or, something like that, which is, like I said, totally fine. But just that, it's like I wish I could explain to like the general population out there, people that aren't necessarily into fitness, like how important doing what you have done is, because and that's obviously one of the big reasons why I want to hear from you, is because I want more people to get in that lane, you know what I mean? Because there's tons and tons of people out there that need to change their health, that need to get in the gym more, that need to flat out just get healthy, lose body fat, gain strength, things like that. And I feel like so many of them are turned off by like what we do here, because it's intimidating, or oh, that's only for hardcore people, or it's like, no, this is like how fitness should be done. Now you can be Maggie. Well, you can't be Maggie.
No one can be Maggie.
But you could walk in her similar shoes and go full circle and compete. And there's she's not the only one. There's people that do that. There's a gal at the show that Brad and Elaine gave an inspiration award to, that had lost a ton of weight and got on stage, and she did great, which is super cool, right? There are stories like that, but I think we need to hear from more people like that and see that you are a normal person. We're all normal people, but people put labels on somebody like me because, oh, you own a gym. You must get to work out all day. Right. Or, oh, you're, you just have good genetics. You've been an athlete your whole life. You haven't had to try.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, sure. All right, pal.
Well, but like, I can't, for me to sit here and say, no, I've worked my literal ass off, or on, whichever way you want to look at it, for, yes, literally 20 years, like a long time, right?
Yeah.
But nobody cares because it's me, and I own a gym, and I've competed in 20 bodybuilding competitions.
Sure.
Like,
right. It's a weird misconception.
Yeah, and it's like, and people, and Maggie gives me a hard time, like, must be nice,
Yeah, just jump on that treadmill and get your steps, Eric.
Exactly. Even though, fun fact, I've maybe walked on our treadmills here once or twice.
True story.
That is a fun fact.
That's true story.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
If I want to get steps, I go walk outside, even if it's a blizzard. But
that's fair.
But,
I would just add, so like, and you asked about this earlier. I don't know that I necessarily answered it directly, but like, I'm a mom. I was in my 40s, right? I was overweight. I don't come from strong genetics. I don't come from an athletic background overall, right? And when I walked in here, I do remember walking in and feeling that, am I in the right place, right? Feeling that overwhelming feeling. Yeah. But when I looked around, the thing that was different from other places that I had been is I saw people who had results, right? And I saw people who were genuine in what they were doing. And so I just decided to go with it, right? And I remember one of our very first training sessions, here I am just struggling to feel comfortable, and Corey Wagner coming up and being like, oh, I love your workout top. And I'm like, and I love you, right? Like, I've been obsessed with her since the first day. Do you know what I mean? Just that, like, oh, this isn't as intimidating as I thought. And I know a lot of people in the podcast have talked about it, but truly, I have never felt for one day that I was in competition with anyone here, right? I always felt like I was working against myself, and that everyone here was cheering me on. And just the support and prep was something incredible, right? But people can walk in here and feel overwhelmed by that, but it took, a solid 60, 90 days for me to kind of get my feet underneath me.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But I think there's a two-pronged approach to that, because for one, it takes a while to change your lifestyle, like completely shift it both mentally and practically. Mm-hmm. And then two, it's just like mentally shifting towards a getting results mindset. Yeah. And I think that the misconception, it's unfortunate, like looking at the Mecca, and I think about this constantly. I dream about this at night because I'm the marketing guy. I'm trying to portray this out to people, that there is that shouldn't be the thought process here. You come here, and hopefully you do see those results. We don't want to show people that have been very successful in the bodybuilding stage, right, or powerlifting or whatever. But we want to show that they all started in one spot, and then they got there. Like, everybody that went on stage changed from where they were to peak health, and then just took it to the next level because they know that they could. They gained that confidence to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just like showing that. And then I think, like you said, if you stick with it, you're going to see it, because it becomes very obvious that it's the family atmosphere, the cheering each other on.
Right.
We're not in competition with each other, but we know that each person's in competition with themselves, and we want to help them get better at whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you could go
You
take
know,
it
and I
help
think a
them.
lot of that comes down to, and, you know, I want your input on this, but that obstacle of really changing your habits, because it's almost like you're giving up your life as you know it. Would you agree with that?
Someone said to me once, you're going to have to give up your old life for your new life. And that's hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
My old life looks nothing like my new life.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the differences, and what are, you know, what has the trade-off been like? Do you see any negatives towards what you're doing now compared to how you were living before?
No, you know, I think for me, I mean, you truly have to give up any and everything that doesn't support the goals and the life that you want to build for yourself. Right. And in my case, you know, that was a lot of things. That was friendships where I didn't feel valued. It was relationships that weren't conducive to the lifestyle that I was trying to build. Do you know what I mean? I really sat down and went through my life and, you know, knew what I wanted to accomplish and eliminated anything that didn't support that new lifestyle. But what happened is then I moved into this space where I'm so incredibly happy. I am living a life that I'm absolutely in love with and passionate about. I'm doing things that make me happy. Instead of just surviving every day, I'm like thriving now. So
That's amazing.
No, I really appreciate your input on that, because I think that, you know, a lot of people do really butt into that barrier, you know, and I've even had, just tons of experience with people like just not willing to give certain things up, and it's like, no, like, I promise you, like, it'll be worth it, you know. They don't want to give up, you know, partying and drinking on the weekends, and they don't want, you know, there's just little things like that, and it's like, no, it's not that you can't, like, party.
Right.
You just can't get white girl wasted every Saturday. You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta
levels.
Let's stick with like 1 or 2 White Claws, not like 12. You know, back off the claws. I think
the claws.
I think a lot of people just get kind of stuck in their ways, and they're happy with certain things, and kind of not willing to give them up, I guess.
Well, and they use them as excuses, right? That's something you and I talk a lot about is, you know, I could give you 100 excuses sitting right here, right off of my sleeve of, you know, reasons I didn't want to come to the gym this morning, or, you know, my knees hurt, or whatever that might be, right? But instead of looking at those as excuses, I look at, how do I overcome this reason for not going to the gym, or how do I get my way around this? People can be stubborn, and making change is uncomfortable for everybody, but if it were easy.
That's right.
Everyone would do it.
That's right.
That's right. Yes, change is uncomfortable.
Yep.
So, speaking of change, tell me a little bit about some of the struggles that you have had kind of along the journey, and what you've changed in order to get through those things.
Yeah. I would say that, you know, I think probably like a lot of normal people, diet's been really hard, right? It is something that I think a lot of people think they need to be perfect, right? And instead, I really tried to, once I you know, would fail and mess up and whatever, instead I tried to kind of step back and look at like, okay, what can I learn from this, right? So for example, I know that I'm not hungry in the mornings and I'm not hungry in the late evenings, but I'm ravenous at 4 o'clock, right? So you need to have a protein shake at 3:30, Maggie, so you don't derail yourself. It's just, you know, that evaluation of learning those things. So I think that was big for me. You know, and then the the ability to take things on as they come. Life changes. We're not all going to be in the same place a year from today or 2 years from today. And you're going to have things that happen in your life that could completely derail your progress and that could sideswipe you. But you have to be able to kind of choose how you react to those things and know how to overcome them instead of going sideways.
Yeah. I think something that keeps kind of reoccurring in my head as I talk to you is something that I don't know if you consciously do this as much as you do, as you really do, but self-reflection, right?
Yeah.
Like that just keeps jumping out at me at something that, and you know, obviously we talk quite a bit, but you know, I think self-reflection is something that you do exceptionally well that is not done frequently or thoroughly enough by most people. You know, I think that's a really valuable tool because, you know, like you're saying, you can come up with things like, okay, I notice that I'm consistently having this problem.
Yep.
Right? What do I think I need to do to fix this problem? And then, you know, you can ask me for advice or just come up with, you know, it's pretty simple, like, oh, I'm really hungry at 4:00. I should probably eat something before I get to that I'm going to chew my fingers off phase of the hunger train. You know what I mean? So speaking of struggling, what is a piece of advice you would give somebody that's struggling or stuck?
Yeah, I think I hit on this a little bit earlier, but truly, if you fall off of the wagon, just get back up. Just stand back up and put one foot in front of the other and try again. Evaluate yourself. Like, why did I fall off the wagon? What happened? Right? And get back on. And someone used an analogy once, like, hey, if you were going on vacation to the coast and, you know, you rolled out of town, you got a flat tire in Caldwell, are you just going to call it and go home? Right? Is it over? Right? Or are you going to fix the tire and go on vacation?
Right.
So that's kind of the attitude that you have to take is, all right, fix the tire and let's move forward in this, because everyone falls off the wagon. This is not a perfection game at all. This is a mental progress, continue to try game.
Yeah, continue to try.
Continue to try.
Yeah,
cool
I do find that funny when somebody, you know, they eat one cookie, they're like, well, I had one cookie, I might as well have 12.
Yeah, I mean, the chocolate cake's going down too.
Yeah,
it's
right.
over now.
Did you notice how he looked at me when he said that?
No, he looked back at us when he said
I didn't say sheet cake. I said cookie.
Oh.
Good.
You want to go there?
We'll get there.
I just think it's cool, Maggie, too, where you say, when you answer that question on like the questionnaire, it says everyone struggles. You just have to keep showing up, and one day something will click. Have you found that one day seems to come a lot faster than what you initially think it's going to come?
Especially after so many times, right? After so many times of falling back off and getting back on now. I mean, there were times where it took me a week to get back on track that I would just struggle. And now if I mess up in a meal, I can get back on track the next meal, right? Yeah. Because just like Eric said, right, I don't demolish my whole day because I had a terrible lunch or, right. There were French fries at the office and I just couldn't.
There's always French fries at the
There's
office.
always more French fries at the office. But yes, I feel like I do recover quickly.
Yeah.
Now.
That's pretty cool.
So to touch on that, not French fries at the office.
I should have brought some in is what should have happened.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can think of a particular instance where it was like a hard line almost, with when you went from, because you started training and we were doing some things and making some progress and trying to kind of get the whole learning process, going with, how to track and how to, do all the workouts and all that stuff. And then, it was kind of like some progress, sort of. And then it was after the Turks and Caicos trip that it was like, there was like a hard line and like, this is when effort started being applied. And like you said, it wasn't necessarily that you were doing things perfectly,
right?
But there's a huge difference in like actually applying yourself or not. And that's what it comes down to. I think there's like a hard line. If I look through all of your spreadsheet stuff, there's like, I could tell where there was one meeting where it was like, from there on, it was just like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
it clicked.
Whereas before it was like, well, what do we need to change? Like, do we need to do, you know what I mean? Do we need to do like elimination diet? Do we need to, you know, this, that, the other thing? Like, what are we going to be able to, you know, manipulate? And, you know, what's the problem? Like, you know, we should be dropping weight. We're not really dropping weight at the right pace. And I think a lot of people kind of get in that loop as like they're kind of doing something, but it's like they're not seeing immediate results, and so it's like they're kind of doing something, you know, and they're not putting all their effort into it. But it's, you know, with you, it was a very distinguishable, like a hard line, like I said, of all of a sudden, oh, she's trying, like doing everything, like, and things just started kind of cruising along. Is pretty amazing. Yeah. So anyway, it was fun to watch.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So what are the top 3 things that you are most passionate and obsessed with today, and how does that compare to your obsessions from before you started getting into all of this fitness stuff?
Yeah. So my top obsession are my kids.
It's a good obsession.
Oh my gosh.
It is a good obsession.
Eric will tell you, and I know a lot of people say this, but like I hit the kid lottery. I'm very, very lucky to be a mom, and to be a mom to 2 incredible girls, and that obsession was before as well. They've always been at the very top of the list. And so that's something I'm definitely obsessed with today. And then I am obsessed with bodybuilding. Like, I don't know who I've become. I don't know who she is. You know, the prep thing for me was, hey, let's see what my best is. And then I went through that experience, and, you know, I really didn't want to step on stage. I didn't want glittery nails and a spray tan, and, you know, I'm not super girly that way. And so I was like, I don't really want to step on the stage, but it's kind of one of those things you have to do to accomplish this. And the minute I stepped on that stage, it was like there was a light switch for me, right? And I was like, oh,
she was built for it.
She was made for this. Yeah. So, and now that prep is over, I am just obsessed with what I can do today, what I can do this week, what I can learn, what I can improve upon. You know, I'm obsessed with that too. And then what was the other thing I listed on there? I can't remember. What was the third one?
That you were obsessed with?
Yeah.
That was Presley, and then it was Charlie.
That's right, Presley and Charlie.
Oh yeah,
coolest kids around.
Those kids.
And how are they different when you were young? You said I was a dancer when I was young, and I was also obsessed with boys.
Yeah, I was about kissing. I was about dancing and kissing boys.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Big difference,
right?
God bless you.
Didn't care about an elliptical.
God bless your parents. Yeah. Oh man. So give us a 2 to 5 year goal, professionally and personally.
Yeah, so I've kind of had the same 2 to 5 year goal. I've been in with the company that I'm with for 5 years now. I've been able to be promoted within my role, been super lucky. I love where I work, but I really want to get into a place that I can work from any location, so that if I want to pack up my stuff and you know, go to Hawaii for a month and rent an Airbnb and work there, then that's what I want to do. But I love talent acquisition. You have a big impact into organizations and people's lives. And so I'll stay that route. Personally, you know, I just want to see what I'm able to accomplish, right? I want to go on and compete again. I always say, like, this was my warm-up.
It's the warm-up.
Right?
Nice, yeah.
Yep.
First season.
Yep.
We take it easy on you in the first season to hook you.
Oh, that was easy?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's just funny. So I was talking to our friend Mustache today, Justin.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, man, the first prep seemed like all fun and games compared to this last one. And I'm like, well, we don't try and kill you on the first one or else you wouldn't come back. And he's like, if only I would have known. You know?
Seriously.
But it's not fun if you're not pushing yourself, right? Because this sport attracts people that want to, take things to the next level and see, like you said, how far can I push my body? How far, can I go? Not necessarily how far can I push my body, but, how, what can I do with my physique? What can I do with, how much muscle can I build? How good can I make my shape? It just so happens that these divisions and, judging criteria just kind of gives you a mold to go off of, because otherwise you'd just be kind of arbitrarily like, well, do I want bigger lats or bigger glutes, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, it does kind of fascinate me what people's mindset is like after the first prep. To me, from my personal experience, I think my first prep was probably the most difficult, actually. Most people, as they get leaner and leaner, they find it more and more challenging, or as they get better, you end up having to be in a deficit for longer, or you name it. But that part really didn't bug me at all. It was more so like the first one was just so incredibly challenging, just from a change in lifestyle perspective. Sure. Right?
Yep.
As a 17, 18-year-old kid going from pounding down tons and tons of calories to all of a sudden, oh, you can't eat that. Like, you're limited to this little wheelhouse of food, and then at first you're like, great results, this is great, like the results are very motivating, but then pretty soon you get to a place where you're like, I'm hungry all the time. I'm going to bed hungry. I'm chewing ice to try and not just chew my fingers off, and you get to experience some different things and experience hunger, and it's kind of as a 17, 18-year-old kid, you don't have a whole lot of life's perspective to pull off of at that point, so you're kind of just a miserable little turd, I think. Yeah. Whereas when you get into this at late 30s, early 40s, right, it's you've lived a life already, right? You have a lot of life's experience. You've been through a lot of things. You've been through things that are hard. You've been through a lot of different situations, and so you can kind of tell yourself, well, this is not the end of the world, I'm just hungry, right? Yeah. Whereas an 18-year-old kid's kind of like,
it's the end of the world.
It's the end of the world because you're hungry, right?
Yeah. And I think, for me, like, I mean, sure, there were times I was absolutely hungry, right? Don't get me wrong, but I expected to be way more hungry than I was. I think it was the pure exhaustion, right?
Yeah,
that was the part.
That never did I ever, on a 6 a.m. on a Wednesday, come in and ask her how she was doing and have her say, I'm just so starving. That was never the lead. Maybe there was some hunger comments, but it was never the lead. It was, I am so tired. Like, no kidding.
I mean, you combined with, I mean, there was times in prep I was here before 4 a.m., right? Like, and you couple that with no food, right? And a low amount of food, and then you go home and you've got to, get your kids to school and put in your full-time job, and then guess what? At night, you're not done. You don't get to just check out, right? But it is what it is. That's the commitment you make. Right. That's the commitment you make, and it can be an excuse, or you just trudge through it.
Yeah. Well, something that, can help with the whole day job situation is, and we always talk about steps and cardio and things like that on this podcast, but for people out there that, say they want to start getting in shape, and they want to start changing some habits, what are some of the things that you did that were, relatively simple yet impactful changes that you made to your routine and your schedule in order to, get everything in or optimize the time you had in the day?
Sure. Well, we all have the exact same amount of hours, right? And so it's where are you going to prioritize your time? And so for me, it can be a small, simple thing to get up 20 or 30 minutes earlier to make sure that you have enough time to do your cardio, right? That's a small change that you can do. Not 3 hours earlier, 30 minutes can be impactful. And then, I would go home and get my work day started. And then usually I usually have a call around 10 a.m. and I have a treadmill desk, right? And so I would jump on my treadmill and I would take a conference call from there, usually for 30 minutes, start walking.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then come lunchtime, instead of sitting down and eating, I'd actually grab my dog. We'd go crank out a 1.5 mile walk on lunch, and then I had about 20 minutes left. So that's where I would grab my food and then sit back down at 1 o'clock to work and eat while I worked, right, to get that done. And then I knew about 4 or 5 o'clock I get super tired, and so I would try to get up again about 3 or 3:30, have that protein shake, right, get another little fresh air, and sometimes that walk's 5 minutes because I don't have time to do a 30-minute walk, right, just getting some fresh air and getting back to it.
Yeah. No, I think that's really, really valuable.
Absolutely.
And I will say that I think that I am the dog MVP for all of the steps that I make everybody do, because there's a lot of happy dogs.
Very.
Because of me.
Very.
And because of our coaches here at the Mecca. So Team Mecca is very pro-dog exercise as well. There's a lot of walks that happen.
Pro-dog.
Yep, for sure.
And so anyway.
Yep.
Shout out to us for giving the dogs of the world exercise.
Yep.
What's the first thing you think when you wake up in the morning?
I think about my goals. The minute my eyes open, I think about what am I going to do right now to go hit this goal. And, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get on my feet and go and see what I can do to, make a little bit of progress today. So that's really the first thing that I think about.
We paid her to say that.
No, he did not.
So, here's a good question. Let people get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Love this question.
I hate this question.
I love
Really
asking
hard
this question.
Yeah, right out of the gate, it's pretty easy for me. I lost a long-term boyfriend that I was in an 8-year relationship with suddenly and unexpectedly in 2020 of a massive heart attack at 44 years old, which, again, another thing that got me through is fitness, but that is the first person that I would like to sit down and have dinner with. Yeah. I lost my grandmother when I was 9 years old, who I was very close with, so I'd like to sit down with her as well. And, I don't know. I think for me, I really admire just strong women role models, right? At the end of the day, I think a lot of, I would totally eat dinner with Michelle Obama. I'd like to pick her brain a little bit.
Oprah?
Nope, not Oprah.
Not Oprah.
Michelle Obama.
I mean, I'm not going to turn down dinner with Oprah, but
I wouldn't say no.
she might bring Michelle.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
You
like,
could have
I
him.
will Oprah if you
You
bring Michelle.
you could have him as a double date.
Right.
go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Perfect.
Yep.
There
A
we go.
beautiful list.
Yep.
Top 3 books. Let's talk about the reader that you are.
I'm not a big reader, and I think you'll laugh at this because what happens to me is the minute I sit down to read, I fall asleep.
I have the same problem.
That's
Right?
Your eyes get so tired real quick.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's rough.
Yeah, especially when you have early mornings and you're tired, and it just relaxes me and I'm out. But that being said, I do have...
So are you an audiobook type of girl?
I'm not. No, because I'm, in recruiting, you're on the phone all day long and talking to people. I don't want to be talked at in my ears. So,
That's right.
I-
Already enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like Grit by Angela Duckworth. I don't know if
okay.
you've read that, but
I
just
haven't read
about people who possess grit and some of their characteristics. It's pretty cool. My favorite book is called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and that book is about overcoming the mental boundaries you set for yourself.
Is that fiction, nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
Oh, very good.
Yep.
Okay.
So that
what
would
was
be
that
another
one
one.
again? Hunter, gotta write these
The
down.
Untethered Soul, Michael Singer.
Untethered Soul.
Yep.
The Untethered Soul.
Grit by Angela Duckworth. The other one would be Critical Conversations. I don't remember who wrote that, but
Critical Conversations.
yeah, it started out as like a leadership book that I was reading, right? To have conversation with employees, but it again just bled into every single part of my life, right? To be able to have conversations with people that, you know, you tend to avoid because they make you uncomfortable, but those conversations that need to be had.
Yeah,
That's good. I think a lot of people need that kind of
It's a great book.
education
Yeah.
in life.
we like the hard conversations in this room.
Gotta have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Are you a moviegoer?
Yes.
Yes. A moviegoer.
So, funny thing, we were driving to Seattle, Maggie and I talked about this on Brett's podcast too.
Right.
How we were talking pop culture stuff and in the car on the way down there, and I'm like, you know, Braveheart, Last of the Mohicans music, and I'm like, what movie is this
awful.
from? And she's like, dude, I don't know.
Stop.
And I'm like, oh man, Maggie's not in pop culture, but I think it was just not the right kind of pop
Right.
culture.
Eric's also like 12 years younger than me, so.
I mean,
You were so funny on that
she's
trip.
more into the rom-coms, I think. That's what it's
Nothing
all
wrong
about.
with that, man.
You were on one with the music on the way up
Oh,
there.
yeah,
As we
yeah.
rolled into Seattle and it was like foggy and rainy and dark and he was just blasting the Last of the Mohicans and
Oh,
I'm
man.
like, who are you?
That was great.
That was the inside
It was
mind.
a vibe.
Yeah.
It was a vibe.
Yeah.
It was a vibe.
Yeah.
It was a vibe.
We had been on the road quite some time at that point.
Like, I just gotta finish this strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, this is all for his mental
Yeah.
stability. He was just trying to.
Everybody in the
Finish the
back had
battle here.
earbuds on, right?
Yeah,
Tuning him
right.
out. I'm like, I'll play.
Yeah. She got stuck in the front seat with me. Top 2 movies for you.
Oh, Cinderella Man. Number
Oh,
one.
It's a good movie.
It's a
Okay.
great movie. Just, you know, someone who, you know, was at the top of their game and fell to the bottom and fought their way back. I really try to model my life around that. And then my favorite comedy is Old School.
Oh, dude. Yes, we did talk about that.
We did talk about it.
You're my boy, Blue.
Yep.
You're my boy.
Yeah. I think you and I talk about that almost on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's got
We
to
love
be-
that movie.
Yeah, we've got to be. I still want to go around and kidnap somebody that I know at one point in the van to initiate them. I just think that'd be hilarious.
I'll film it.
Yeah, and then, you know, you've got these kids and, gosh, that just got in trouble. It was in the news. The kids, it's like in Fruitland. Did you hear about that?
Oh, yep.
Oh, dude. So these kids, apparently, I don't know a ton about it. Hopefully I don't butcher this story, but there's like a football team or something in Fruitland that like kidnapped some of their younger classmen, younger players on the team, and like did some weird crap to them.
Hazing.
Yeah, hazing type stuff.
You got
like,
some hazing going on.
but like beyond the type of stuff, like, come on, I played competitive ice hockey. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure it got pretty
we were weird,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This goes beyond the typical like I put icy hot in your jock, you know?
You're right.
Like
Jeez, that's just
it's like,
terrible anyway.
dude, yeah. Well, let's not get into that too far, but yeah. So
Yeah, that's
then,
too bad.
Then I hear stories like that, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I won't go fake kidnap any one of my friends.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the
I don't
headlines
want to
next
get
to
in the,
these
yeah,
guys.
exactly. I
Yeah.
don't want to be in the headlines for local business owner,
Right.
kidnaps-
Owner of the Mecca Gym.
yeah, kidnaps employees and zip ties them, and anyway,
And shows them Old School.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That would be good. That'd be a feel good
And
story.
ties cinder blocks to their
No. Stop immediately.
So, tell us a little bit about your music selection in the gym. Let's talk about this.
You already know the answer to this.
Well, I know your boy.
Well, so I really genuinely, so it's kind of funny. One day I think I told Eric to turn on Eminem, right? Like there was one day that the music was god awful and I'm like, go turn on some Eminem, right? And so we started talking about it, and now I think Eric thinks I have a really strong obsession with Eminem.
I think she does.
I really, I know a lot of people say this, but because I spend a significant amount of time in the gym and I do a significant amount of cardio, right, I listen to a lot of music. And so really...
So let's talk about that with the music and the cardio, since you mentioned that. You are somebody that has to do an exceptional amount of cardio for, especially for competition prep. So that would be a good word of advice, because everybody's different. What are some of the tricks that you use to keep yourself occupied through doing some of that longer duration cardio stuff?
Right. So I'm super passionate about you never cheat on your cardio. First of all, you never cheat a minute of your cardio, because you're only cheating yourself.
Never cheat on the gym, never cheat on your cardio.
Right. Get off my soapbox there. But, a lot of people like to watch shows. I actually hate it. I don't like just looking down. It makes me almost a little bit dizzy. I know that might sound funny, but I get a little out of balance when I try to watch TV. I don't like audiobooks and talking in my ears. And so to me, it is music, right? I get on there and just, depending what I feel like that day, I kind of sink into a certain genre, if you will, and listen to that day. And so, like, if you do old school on Fridays, then you just stick with, your Snoop, your Biggie, your Pac, whatever, right? And you ride that. And then, there are other days where you might do 80s or whatever that looks like, right? Just find the music that you enjoy. Spotify, the best $14 on earth you can spend, right? Just load those playlists up, and that's what works for me. Now, again, some people love to watch shows. I see people reading books, which I have no clue how coordinated you have to be.
Try, but I'm like bouncing.
Not during cardio. Yeah, I feel like, and we've talked about this even on this podcast already. Like, I indoor cardio is not my jam, but even like if I'm out doing like outdoor stuff, cardio, like music is definitely a staple. And it's like, get in the groove, you know what I mean? And it's almost like at first you start off listening to that music, but that's almost like a trigger just to let your mind like wander.
Oh, absolutely.
And eventually you're not really listening to the music anymore. It's like you're in your own fantasy island. Just like, well, you're just in your own thoughts. And you're just
for sure.
It's kind of like you enter the Matrix, right?
Well,
like you get plugged in and it's just like
thing that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked out so much mentally on cardio, right? Like, I go in there and I plug in my music and I lock down, and whether it's stress at work or personal things going on or grief or, you know what I mean? Whatever that is, I've worked through so much on that elliptical with the music in the background. The music is just pace setting for you, right? For you to kind of have that time. And I really value that time. That's the time in the morning where I kind of set my tone for the day of, here's what I need to get through. Here are the things that are bothering me, right? And work through that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how music can just shift moods too.
For sure.
Like, unbelievably. Like, you could feel, I remember there was one specific time I was here like midnight working out, because that's the time I could do it, exhausted and stuff, and then I turned this one song comes up and it just shifted my whole, like, I was like energized at that time. It's so crazy how that works.
It's like putting on the hood.
Ask Andrew what happens when heavy metal comes on in the morning, how my mood changes.
We're not going to touch that. We're not going to touch that on this podcast. So anyway, back to gym playlists.
Yep.
What are some gym playlist staples?
Oh man, I mean, I really love, there's some really good playlists around like Michael Jackson, right? You can go into some pretty cool like mixes around Michael Jackson. Like I said, I mean, I'm a kid of the 90s, so I love like 90s rap, or as Andrew calls it sometimes. What does Andrew say sometimes? Baby making music?
Baby making music. Absolutely.
Yeah. I really do. I like everything. I'm a big Beatles fan, which isn't necessarily a big gym kind of feeling. I actually don't listen to the Beatles very much in the gym, but once in a while I will.
Yeah, I can't do Beatles, and I like the Beatles all right, but a little come
maybe
together.
When I'm walking out of the gym.
Yeah, a little come together.
Right.
You know. Excuse me, but yeah, I don't know if I could get into Beatles.
You foam roll, some stretching, right? Like there are certain times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They could be on the stretching playlist for sure. What's your preferred training style? Like, what do you like to do for exercise the most? There's a lot of things that you do. Obviously, there's lifting, there's cardio, there's all that stuff. Is there a particular muscle group you enjoy training the most? Is there a particular exercise and or rep range you prefer? Do you like, what are your pros and cons of lifting and cardio? Give us some thoughts.
Yeah. Well, when I started, I think like most human beings on earth, I hated cardio. I don't think that's uncommon, right?
I'm going on a long time now, and that hasn't really changed. So.
I know that for sure. But over time, I've really learned to love it. I love that feeling of getting my endorphins going and my blood flowing and getting off of there and feeling kind of myself suck that air, right? I actually do really enjoy cardio.
I mean, the runner's high is
a real thing.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And then as far as lifting goes, I mean, I'm a bikini competitor. I'm always trying to build my booty, right? At the end of the day.
Butt stuff for the win.
That's right.
W.
But I love to deadlift, which is...
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily expect, and I will do shoulder raises for the rest of my life.
Yep, just pumping out.
Just raising your arms
pumping out.
over.
Right.
And over.
Yep, till I can't lift them.
Side raises until really just from dusk till dawn, just all day long. Side raises, just go for it.
I mean, Eric knows this. I like variety, right? I like to mix things up. Unfortunately, with some of my health issues, right, we have to work around my knees, and so my lower body stuff is pretty much set of what I can do, period. And so a lot of variety on anything else kind of gives me that balance.
Yeah, she does. She likes a fair bit of variety. That is the case, and that can be good or bad. As we've talked before, like a ton of variety, a ton of variation isn't necessarily like, it's like you can obviously have variety, that's fine, but sticking to your like improving upon the basics is really, really important. And I think Maggie's definitely one that is has challenged her patience a little bit. Just being like no, we have to continue to do this, but trying to give her as much variation and just things to keep her mentally stimulated as well as physically stimulated.
Right.
That's super important with, and it's good that you mentioned that when it comes to, your exercise selection and, rep ranges and things like that. I feel like a lot of people, they kind of get bored and fizzled out with stuff. And which, like true strength and conditioning is pretty boring. It's very, can be very linear, can be very, practicing the same things and just getting better at the same things. Like sometimes you just want to do something else.
Right.
But that's like, there's a balance to that. That's why a lot of people don't make progress, is because they are trying to vary too much. I mean, like CrossFit, for example.
Right.
Too much variation. You're not getting good at one particular thing other than like sweating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, it's not necessarily true. I shouldn't say that. Overgeneralizing CrossFit, but but to to that extent with other people just coming and working out in the gym, and it's like, well, one day they'll do some of this, one day they'll do some of that. Like there's not enough structure to cause good adaptation, so they kind of just spin their wheels. So it is can be difficult, especially when you're doing exercise programming for literally hundreds of people. Like how do you keep everybody mentally engaged, and how do you how are we going to manipulate things to keep things interesting? What new things can we try? What old things do we have to keep in? And I think getting good feedback from the athlete or the individual themselves is obviously super helpful. That way I'm not just like, well, I wonder if she likes this or that.
Shoot from the hip, see what happens.
Yeah. Because there is an element like, people have to be engaged and be interested. Like you want them to do things that they enjoy, not just things that they have to do, but kind of bridge that gap between keeping them interested, keeping them enjoying what they're doing, but keeping them making progress. So you have to kind of fit all that stuff in, right?
Right.
Could be challenging, but
Well, that's why I get a good coach.
That's fun. That's the fun part too, right?
Yeah.
You get to do new stuff.
And that's what I like about our relationship is you ask me, what do you like to do? Right? What is it you like to do? And then you'll say, well, what about this? Right? And we can we negotiate every 8 weeks.
Yes, we do.
I won't do that, but I'm willing to do this.
Yes, this is a negotiation always. So who would play your character in a biography? Hunter, who you got?
My first thought was Emily Blunt.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's
I
what
could
came to mind.
see. Who you got?
Who you got?
Who's your doppelganger?
I don't know that I have one.
I don't know.
I mean,
either.
I want Jennifer Aniston to play me.
I was gonna say Jennifer Aniston.
You should have said it.
Get out of here.
That's who I want to play me.
I was gonna say Jennifer Aniston. That could be a good fit.
Yeah, I get that one, and the one that I can't stand that I get is Denise Richards.
Oh,
Back when my hair was darker. Thank you.
Not seeing that.
Thank you.
Honestly, you kind of. I can see a resemblance between you and... Now, personality-wise, what she usually plays in a movie, no. But, like, from a looks perspective, your look almost reminds me of... who plays Black Widow?
Scarlett Johansson. I had actually had that come to mind.
Yeah. Like, if she was blonde, I think that could actually... Like, from
you get Denise Richards, huh?
Ugh. Right?
Do you
I
have
hate
picture
that.
pulled up?
I don't see it either, yeah.
Do you have a picture pulled up? Let me see that.
Well, that's what I got pulled up.
Oh.
I think it's the eyes. I think that's usually what gets people.
I think it's the blonde-ish.
I don't know.
I don't know. We're no-go on her.
We're
going with Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
Or,
deal.
I'll take Emily Blunt. I'll take Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect deal. Top 2 role models and influences in your life.
I struggle with the word role model. I really do. I don't believe in necessarily wanting to be just like someone. I want to be Maggie. I want to be the best version of Maggie. So it's kind of twofold for me, which is people that I look up to, right? Which for me, a lot of those people are here in this gym. It's women like, I get to work out next to Stacy McBride. I get to work next to, Corey Wagner when she's here, Kaylia Rhodes. Like, those are the people, Cheryl Diger, people that influence me, right? That live a lifestyle that I want to live. And then really, I've always had kind of this theory that in your life you have what I call the board of directors, right? The people that have a seat at your table, that when you are going to make a big decision in your life, it's the people that have influence in those decisions. And, those people have different roles. And so obviously my children, my parents are there. Eric has a seat at that table.
Yes, I made the club.
You're on the board.
I'm on the board.
You're on the board.
No.
There's no salary, by the way. Just...
Zero incentive.
I like titles.
Sassy talk. I don't know.
I like titles. Can I be HR on the board?
Absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
You're the fitness advisor.
Ah, yes.
That's your role.
All right.
Stay in your seat.
All right.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. So, those are some of my key people that influence my life.
I like that.
Cool.
Yep.
Everybody has a board of directors.
Well,
Yep.
they should have a good board of
They
directors.
should. Yeah.
You should, because those are the people that you go to, right? If I go to Eric, I mean, we've had conversations where I said, like, hey, I'm thinking about this job, right? And how's this going to impact my fitness, right? And I knew that if I took that position, that it was going to take away from what I was doing here, right? And he can, weigh his perspective in, and how's it going to affect my kids and those sort of things. So it's having those people that you go to that you trust to be honest with you.
I really like that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And that's something that we definitely haven't heard before, on this podcast, is having kind of because I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? You kind of have your people that, like, if you're going to make a big decision, it's like, and you're kind of on the fence about, like, obviously you're a big girl, you can make big girl decisions on your own. But if you're like, I kind of want to mold this over, and you can have a group of people that you trust to say, hey, I want to bounce this idea off you. What do you think?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think it's cool that you kind of phrase it that way, because the whole point of a board of directors is people coming from different backgrounds with different opinions to come to the best possible conclusion. So it's not like you have people in your corner who are just there to kind of root you on and say, do whatever you want, we're going to support you.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do.
And I want the people at that table that are going to call me out as well, right? To say, hey, and Eric's going to have one opinion, and just using like another job, for example, he's going to have one opinion and my dad might have another because it's going to pay me more, right? Like, I mean, you got to take in those different perspectives and then make that educated decision by yourself. But I'm very lucky to be surrounded by incredible people. And I think that people really should, look around their lives, see who's in their lives, and are those people sitting at the table or not.
You might need to fire your board.
Got to get rid of the board.
I have fired people at my board.
Yeah, I guarantee.
all good company.
All
right, I promoted them to fans.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Speaking of fans, when's your OnlyFans page starting?
You know what? There's been some technical glitches.
Oh
my God. I'm a mother, Eric. Jesus.
Oh, man.
Good Lord.
Well, if you're lucky enough to find yourself at the Mecca between the hours of like 4:30 a.m. and, 7 a.m., you are lucky enough to be in the presence of wonderful Maggie here. And she is a treat. I've enjoyed every moment of coaching you over the years, and it just keeps getting better and better. So I just want to thank you for being such a dedicated young lady. And
thank you,
for being
sir.
yourself and being awesome. Always authentic. I think people can learn a lot from Maggie in that regard. There's, she is not a person that I ever have to worry about, reading into things. She always speaks her mind and is well spoken and clear. So that's appreciated. For anybody out there that has a coach or a board of directors, beating around the bush does not help anybody. So
nope.
I think that comes from a good old HR background, and plus your wonderful personality.
Thanks. Pretty direct.
But it's been a pleasure. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we've enjoyed having you as part of the family. It's been great.
Thanks. Yep.
And you also set a great example for others out there. So that I appreciate. And you've mentioned some other names on the podcast that are also, I'm super proud of our whole, group here to have, especially a group of strong females that have great personalities, but, all get along so well. For whatever reason, I think that it's just rare these days to have a group of women that jive as good as a lot of the ladies in here do. I think you're all just awesome individuals, so that's why it works. But
they're all awesome.
They're all just great. They're all just great people. So,
agreed.
So thank you for being on. Do you have any closing statements for us?
No, just thank you. I mean, I've always said, I'm so lucky to have you in my life, and you and I have just been we've been through a lot, right? At the end of the day, we've been through a ton, and I've always said that Eric's the compass on my journey, right? I know that we wouldn't have had the successes that both of us have had without each other. So thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Well, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed. Hit Maggie up on the socials if you're have any questions for her. She loves getting the DMs.
Love it.
And we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Power of Lifting podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For more content like this, follow Eric Cafferty and the Mecca Gym on all social media platforms.